Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. To start things off, the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, Intercontinental Exchange, otherwise known as ICE, has announced a launch date for Bitcoin futures on its platform known as Bakkt. According to a document released on the 22nd of October, Bakkt is a platform for trading, storing, and spending digital assets that was established earlier this year by global exchange operator ICE. Per the document, ICE will list Bakkt Bitcoin daily U.S. contracts futures for trading on the 12th of December 2018, that's this year. The product will be physically settled and cleared by ICE Clear US Inc., the notice further explains. It says each futures contract calls for delivery of one Bitcoin held in the Bakkt digital asset warehouse and will trade in US dollar terms. One daily contract will be listed for trading each exchange business day, end quote. The announcement is backed, by a previous statement in September that the company's first contracts will be physically delivered Bitcoin futures contracts versus fiat currencies against US dollars, pounds, sterling, and euro. As previously reported, Bakkt will not support margin trading for its Bitcoin contract. By refraining from allowing for margin, leverage, and cash settlement, the platform will reportedly better support market integrity and enable the trusted price formation that it says is key to advancing the promise of digital currencies. In December of last year, so what's interesting about all of this is that once again we're lining up with the same. I don't know what is so significant about certain time frames in the cryptocurrency world. I mean, as crypto is fairly new, at least at this point. Last year around this time as well, or rather, winter time, is when we finally had the Bitcoin futures that were launched by the CBOE, and that was the moment when, as we were nearing that date, Bitcoin's price started going up. I think we were around, it had to be between like 8 and 10,000, and then within I think a 2-week period we had already shot up to 20,000. So there's a lot of heavy sentiment floating around all this. First of all, we finally have and I'm very glad that they actually did this as well, giving us like proper news and stuff like that, because we've had a lot of other crypto things, settlement, blah blah blah, so and so, what they wanted to do, not with ICE in particular, but other companies and organizations who were talking about launching things for cryptocurrency / Bitcoin, and they just stopped giving us news completely. And it's kind of like you can't tell people that you're going to launch something that's extremely massive and then not give them any type of news. But at least once a week, the people from ICE have been giving us proper news as to when things are going to launch. It seems as of right now that the 12th of December is going to be the launch date for at least the daily Bitcoin futures. I explained before, people were not confused, but they didn't understand what it meant to be like physically settled. It pretty much means that before we had futures contracts where people were pretty much just swapping US dollars back and forth. They weren't actually even trading in the cryptocurrency. But the fact that this is going to be a 24-hour physically delivered, that means that every single time that the future ends after the 24-hour period, Bitcoin are going to be swapping back and forth on the network. And this is incredibly important, because if everything goes off without a hitch, if everything ends up working out properly as we all think that it should, or assume that it should, this could potentially mean that we will have multiple millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. I don't want to say billions yet, but a large million number, potentially, hopefully, flowing back and forth between the Bitcoin network, which could increase the volume and therefore increase the potential price increase somewhere along the way. The fact that they're also going to have the fact that this is also a trading desk and also like a crypto custody, and also the entire part of it as well, where the idea of Bakkt, or when we first heard about Bakkt, was that if you are a store, if you were an organization or something like that, that you would then be able to integrate Bakkt. We don't know the exact specifics of the entire thing yet, but you would then be able to allow, or rather, as a store, you would allow other people to be able to spend their cryptocurrencies and or accept it as a payment, which is something I feel like this is so underplayed, and I don't understand why. I don't know if it was simply because they didn't, like, first of all, we had news that they were going to launch in November, and now it says December, but at least we have like an actual date, so that gives me like a bit more hope and faith inside of all of this. Maybe they didn't want to really give proper exact information of exactly what's going to be happening, but the fact that The New York Stock Exchange is going to have a crypto trading desk, a custody platform, and is going to have something that we've had rumors that Starbucks and potentially even McDonald's will integrate back and therefore allow people to be able to spend their cryptocurrencies. And the fact that Bitcoin isn't already over 15,000 just off of that news alone is mind-boggling. I've lost all understanding of exactly what's happening in the market, or rather as far as like market sentiment. I've noticed a lot of people, I get it, prices are down. Not everyone can be as excited as they once were many, many moons ago. But this is like, for those who are into cryptocurrency, more so for the money-making side and not so much for the hyper decentralization, let's get away from governments and banks. It's more for those who are, which in my estimated opinion, my opinion is around at least 90% of the people who are into crypto are heavily just into the idea of using it as another asset class and building wealth and or making money off of it. The fact that the market hasn't moved just based off of this sentence alone is, to me, just completely insane. We've, for the last 10, 11, 12 months at this point right now, there was such a huge story about needing, a trusted custody platform where people could store their cryptocurrencies, and we need major names in this space, and we need so and so. The fact that the New York Stock Exchange is launching all of this, the fact that there are, first of all, Starbucks is a partner in the entire back thing. The fact that even Starbucks and maybe McDonald's by mid 2019 or early 2020 could be accepting Bitcoin as a payment for a cheeseburger, and the price isn't moving. I don't even know. The point is, we finally have a date. Thank goodness. I'm afraid of exactly what happened last year. Prices went up. The futures launched. The prices went completely insane, and then we all know what happened around January when the prices started to slowly fall back down. Anyway, this is the backed news. We finally have clarification onto as when this is finally going to end up launching. Let's move on. Next up, and this is probably one of the most troubling things I think I've read in quite a long time. Cryptocurrency investors governed by Spain could face mandatory reportings of their holdings for tax purposes under a new draft law the government approved on the 19th of October. Local daily news network ABC reported. Unveiled at a press conference by the country's finance minister, Maria Jesus Montero, the measures seek to make holders of crypto assets declare them, regardless of whether they are in Spain or offshore. Specifically for tax purposes, she said, the government wishes to gain identification of the holders and the balances contributed by these virtual currencies. It is stated as mandatory that people and companies inform the tax agency about this operation. The publication quotes Montero as saying, including in this holder is a Spanish resident living abroad. She said Spain has stepped up its efforts to formalize the cryptocurrency sector this year. In April, sending user identification requests to no fewer than 60 businesses involved in the nascent economy. If the latest draft becomes law, cryptocurrency holdings would need to be included in Spain's notorious tax reporting structure known as the 720 form. As Bloomberg notes, the penalties involved for incorrect information about a taxpayer's earnings are severe, consisting of about 5,000 euros or about 5,700 US dollars. The move underscores the patchwork regulatory environment for crypto tax that persists in the European Union. As Cointelegraph reported, some member states, notably Poland, have U-turned on previously instigated conditions and tax thresholds for cryptocurrency holdings, while others such as Malta and Spain's neighbor Portugal already have preferential policies. This is probably one of the most worrying things I have ever read in my entire life. How do I put this? Remember I said before, I think if countries around the world start overstepping their boundaries as to what they think that they are allowed to do or should be able to do when it comes to cryptocurrencies, people are simply going to leave their country. The fact that when normally, I don't know where everyone else is in the world, typically when you file your tax returns, there usually isn't an area for you to write down how much you have inside of your bank account or bank accounts. there's usually how much did you make, how much is so-and-so, where did you pay this, how much did you get paid, and then at the end of the cycle or whatever, you receive something that says how much you have to pay. There typically isn't something that says you are required to let us know exactly how much of anything you have. If this ends up spreading, rather, I'll put it to you this way. I'm surprised but not surprised, and I feel like there are a lot of countries, like I said, I'll put it this way, who are not doing well economically, who are going to try and figure out every way that they can to be able to, the term is nickel and dime, to get every single last cent that they can in order to help their economy. Once again, this is just how I feel in this situation. I don't know how to let you understand how severe this is. I hope that this does not end up passing. I have a strong feeling that it will, simply because there probably isn't enough backlash in Spain in order for this not to actually end up happening. There probably aren't. The problem with laws like this is that as a government or a country, if you understand that crypto is going to be something major, you push through as many laws as possible so that in 2 or 3, 4 years times, when crypto is completely mainstream, these laws are already in effect and people don't really understand that their rights, or what could have been their rights, are have already been hampered on or suppressed many years ago. Not really much more to kind of say about this. I don't assume, me personally, that this is going to be like a thing that's going to go from country to country. Typically what we've seen so far has been that if you have cashed out of your cryptocurrencies, the government and tax agencies like to know exactly how much you cashed out of, what profits you made, what have you, so and so and so. This is probably one of the nastiest things I think I've ever seen in a very long time, and I mean, it's very worrying, especially if you are actually in Spain, especially because like the clause as well, it says like even if you are like, where was it, like if you're a resident or something like that, and even if you have it offshore, that's, to me, that's just overstepping something that should have never been even declared in the first place. Like no one should have ever even thought of that out loud. That should have stayed in their head. Let's move on. Litecoin is actually in the news today. Litecoin, the popular virtual currency, will be reducing transaction fees in the near future. Although the difference may be negligible for users, especially those trading small amounts, developers want to drive transaction fees close to zero. Litecoin was generally an inexpensive virtual currency to use. Transactions were performed fast and for very low fees since the very beginning. During the bull market that drove Bitcoin's prices to $20,000, users started to use Litecoin to avoid paying high fees. That's exactly when Bitcoin's price hit this high, the transaction fees were out of this world, and people were switching over to Litecoin and to Ethereum. And there was one other coin, I can't remember exactly what it was, in order to transact back and forth. And this is where we got that, for those who are relatively new. There's kind of like a movement or push to add other coins as the, not what things are pegged to, like trading pairs and stuff like that. Because for some reason, all these crypto exchanges thought it was a fabulous idea just to have Bitcoin as the thing that was pegged to every single other coin. And then when people were trying to figure out how to move money best around when Bitcoin transaction fees were so high, people were using other coins. But even then, Litecoin and Ethereum and XRP weren't even linked to other coins as trading pairs yet. So it was just a one big horrible fiasco. And I'll get to it in a second, but I feel like something like this is going to continue again. Bitcoin transactions were close to costing $55 at that time. Transaction times were also very slow. However, Litecoin remained competitive, offering transaction fees lower than $1. During peak times, Litecoin fees reached $1.5. The highest I ever had to pay for a Bitcoin transaction around that time was, I think, $34 or something like that. And it really, it hurt me to actually have to even pay that for the actual thing. And I think the longest around this time as well, when everyone is getting really hyped up and things are actually happening in the market, because the market right now is going sideways. When things are actually happening in the market and people are trying to send money back and forth as rapidly and as fast as possible, I think it took one of my transactions, I'm not joking, I think the longest it ever took was like 22 days or something like that. One of them took, I remember, 6 or 7 days. And that really like made me upset because the prices were fluctuating so much, and I was just trying to get in at a good price, and I was trying to move money, and I was trying to do this. And the other one, I think I was using an older like wallet client or something like that. And I guess the fees on it, like typically on the older wallets, many older wallets, they had a set transaction fee like already built into the entire platform that you yourself couldn't change. And it came down to like, I think it was like, it had to be like 1,000 Satoshis or something like that, like pennies. So when the transaction fee around that time was around $15-$20, and I was trying to transact something that was 8.5 cents or something like that, it just didn't go through for a very long time, and it was quite annoying. Developers of this popular virtual currency said that it would be positive to reduce fees even more. In the Litecoin 0.17 upgrade, the average network fee will go down to 1 cent. The main intention is to encourage more adoption of Litecoin, something that can be achieved in this way. That's excellent. That's pretty much exactly where it should be. If 0.25's upgrade can make it go to like 1/10 of a cent, we're entering a world right now where we have a lot of cryptocurrencies that are coming out that have no fees at all. And I've been reading like opinions and stuff like that about what people think are going to be the top cryptocurrencies and what could eventually happen to the cryptocurrencies that we have right now. And the overwhelming opinion is that if you have a cryptocurrency that has fees over like 10 cents, you're probably not going to make it very far. Because if you can incentivize people, if you point over there and say, their transaction fees are $55, and how much are your transaction fees? And they go 1/10 of a cent. Well, I'm more inclined to use yours, especially when you have platforms that, when you're trying to build apps and dApps and websites and all these other things on top of them. If every time you send something back and forth, that costs money, that like it actually is a transaction on the entire network. Like there was someone talking about before, this had to be about a year ago, when Bitcoin smart contracts were trying to become a thing, but the network is too laggy. And they were talking about, let's build our own Bitcoin Facebook. Let's build BitBook or something like that. And people didn't realize that if I'm sending a message to this person over here, it counts as a transaction on the network. And imagine having to send your friend a message and having to pay $55 for a transaction. So very good. Thumbs up to the Litecoin team. The last 3 weeks, they've seemed to be picking up a little bit. They've been talking about integrating things from Zcash, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say it's Zcash. As far as like the privacy features and stuff like that they're trying to build on top of it. They're trying to load the transaction fees. All this is great. I hope they continue with it. Litecoin hasn't had the brightest light shined on it in the last couple of months. I feel like they're trying to get back into the spotlight. First of all, let's segue to this one. So Bitcoin's network, if you can believe it, is already getting congested, even with the low volume and the price going down. Part of the problem with all of this is if Bitcoin's price ends up, let's say in December, we have Bitcoin's price going up to like 15,000. The market would completely go insane. Everyone's transacting in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's fees are probably going to go anywhere from like $2 to $15. They're going to be floating around there depending on the number of exchanges and people who have activated or allowed SegWit transactions to flow through the network. You're going to see a varying degree of the amount. Should Bitcoin end up hitting some astronomical number, that's going to it's just going to be really bad all over again. Fees have been lowering, to be fair, simply because the adoption of SegWit has increased, but it has not increased at a large enough rate that fees will continue to be down. There's a huge fear going around right now that if Bitcoin, or eventually when Bitcoin does go back up in price, that the fees are going to become so much. And this is why I think that we're seeing articles like this, because everyone is trying to make sure that they do what they can or have something activated or that they can push other people to their network. Bit more I could say on it, but let's actually move on from this. There were other articles talking about from other developers asking, or rather saying, they were wondering why Blockstream, the people who pretty much control Bitcoin right now, why they're not putting forth more of an effort to be able to expand the Bitcoin network and or help to reduce fees in some other ways or to make the network more robust. Because if you've noticed, over the last year, just about every single coin has been trying to make their network faster and stronger and, able to scale more and hold more people on it. And we've had news about like lowering transaction fees. Can you guess the one coin that hasn't really had any news like that is still as slow as it was before at the beginning of this year? When Bitcoin, I wonder exactly how high Bitcoin. First of all, I wonder how high Bitcoin's fees are going to get when it hits around $50,000. And I was reading an editorial where they were talking about, I don't know how you even get to this argument. They said that they thought that Bitcoin fees were actually great because it incentivized people to like hold on to their Bitcoin or to like it would like the article pretty much said that Bitcoin was for rich people, and rich people who already hold tons of Bitcoin won't mind a $150 fee if they're sending millions of dollars back and forth. And I was like, how smug do you have to be to even think of like the mindset of what Bitcoin is or rather has completely gone. And now people are trying to act as if Bitcoin was created for like the rich masses, not like the mass population of the world, that it was just something. This was some random article. So, take it with not even a grain of salt, like a little spoonful of salt, if you will. But they were trying to say that the network fees were an incentive to keep Bitcoin's price up. And I'm like, what? And I have no idea what's going on in people's minds right now. I think everyone is just trying to, I don't even know. Let's move on. So Elon Musk, I'm going to swipe over this really quick. He actually posted a tweet about a day or two ago or something like that with an anime character with a bee on her lapel, her chest, whatever you want to call it. And it says, want to buy some Bitcoin. Apparently, Elon Musk has been hacked before. And when this happened, Twitter actually locked his account because they thought that he had gotten hacked. And it led to a lot of speculation because we had a news it had to be last weekend or something like that. Maybe last Thursday or something. The company that Elon Musk has is called Boring, or like there's like the Boring Company or something like that. And there was a tweet from a fake account that said that the Boring Company was going to allow Bitcoin in order to buy like their flamethrower. Why they have flamethrowers in the first place is anyone's guess. But apparently that entire thing was fake. Elon Musk said so himself, and then he came forward with his tweet talking about want to buy some Bitcoin, which only furthers the speculation that people have already had talking about if, what is the major company in the world that's going to accept cryptocurrency first. The CEO of Binance also said that he would actually buy a Tesla if they started accepting crypto. I'm pretty sure a lot of companies have been in talks to do things like this. A long time ago, I was wondering why. Looking back, it makes a bit more sense as to why all of these companies weren't accepting cryptocurrencies. And I guess it came down to mainly like taxation, and people didn't know if Bitcoin was real or going to be used, or how far that it was going to go, or what the exact extent of, or rather how far the crypto market has grown. Like in 2018 right now, we couldn't have seen in 2013 or 12 exactly how big Bitcoin and crypto would have become. If Elon Musk announces that any of his companies, especially Tesla or Boring, is going to allow Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as payment, we should see a significant spike in price. But as of now, everyone, no major company has really come forward and said, I volunteer as tribute. Like none of them have really said it. Everyone's kind of been like playing around with the idea, but I'm pretty sure they're all in talks with lawyers or something like that, trying to figure out if it is feasible for them to accept Bitcoin. At some point, it's going to happen, and let's hope that even like the little backed thing that we have, not even little backed thing, the backed thing that we have happening in December, it would be nice if, let's say, 3 companies came forward in December after Bakkt has launched, and they all stated that they were going to accept crypto as payments. That would be a very nice early Christmas gift. So Tom Lee is also in the news. Not going to read through too much of it. He pretty much had a conversation with someone called Blockchain Chick. Okay, and they were talking about the future of cryptocurrencies, and he says that he feels that people are at the moment too bearish on the entire cryptocurrency market. He says apparently he sent out something talking about the 200-day average on the Bitcoin price and how it is currently under the 200-day average, and typically we've seen in the past that if it's over the 200-day average, that Bitcoin typically goes up 80% of the time in 6 months. But he says at the moment it's under it, but he still feels, even though that these indications are there, that Bitcoin's price, like many other people have been saying, could potentially continue to go lower. He says that he feels like that we could definitely hit a higher price relatively soon, simply because he says, according to Lee's research, by the year's end, the break-even cost of mining one Bitcoin will rise to $8,000 to $9,000 US. While this could be grounds for Bitcoin to rise slightly, the New York-based analyst added that Bitcoin often trades at over 2 times its break-even, hence the bullish $20,000 plus price prediction that he still has. I mean, I thought when the New York Stock Exchange and Fidelity and NASDAQ and all these other people were talking about getting into crypto, that the price would have definitely moved. We've also had, we had news around the summertime. If you guys remember, there was a point where Bitcoin's hash rate had continued to spike, and it completely shot up at one point, and people were talking about that they expected at that time that Bitcoin's price would also go up, simply because the price of Bitcoin was lower than the actual break even for miners, and the fear is that a large amount of miners around the world would simply shut up their machines because they would not be making as much money from their mining operations, simply because a lot of miners, we found out that as they're mining all these cryptocurrencies, a lot of them sell it off to be able to pay for their electricity fees and stuff like that, thus the break even cost that we have over here, which I think we are well under, or rather just floating next to at this point. Typically in the past, like it says, it's often been over 2 times. Not exactly, I mean, so these are the prices for everything right now. The market's not moving. There was an article, I think it was by Bloomberg, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it was Fortune, and it was titled, Bitcoin is more stable than this $1 trillion stock, and it came down to Bitcoin's price is not moving at all, and therefore the rest of the market is barely moving as well. But Bitcoin's price is actually now more stable than Amazon stock, if you can actually believe that. I don't even know. I still feel like this is all. I feel like the last couple of months have been a major effort to show that Bitcoin can be stable, but I know that it's. I know in my heart that it's falsified. Like, there's nothing that makes Bitcoin this. You don't have major You don't have major news like this that would cause hyper stabilization in prices. It is what it is. The market, there are articles talking about, there are a lot of Wall Street people who are now commenting that Bitcoin is boring because the price is not going anywhere. A lot of people got into the cryptocurrency markets because if you are a day trader for the stock market, you like fluctuations like this. Like, this should be like a 24-hour chart. Like, it should just be kind of all over the place, so you can kind of hit the ups and the downs, so you can make a good amount of profit. But even if you look at the charts and you scroll back a bit more, the line is almost completely like this. It's almost like flat line. It's not really moving anywhere, so the profits really aren't there to be made. So a lot of analysts and people who are now trading crypto over the last year have been stating that the crypto market has become very boring. People have actually started, even if you can believe it, people have actually started moving back into stocks, because stocks have become more volatile over the last 3 or 4 weeks compared to cryptocurrencies. I still feel there's some coordinated effort to push Bitcoin to be as stable as it is right now. Other people think that we're getting to the end of the narrowing triangle formation, and therefore this is why Bitcoin's price is so steady. Then, in my humblest opinion, typically, how do I say this? The idea is that right now, when you look at Bitcoin's charts and stuff like that, I'll just click on it. When you look at Bitcoin's charts, where is it? Load. You see this formation right here. Everyone says that we've gotten to a point where we're completely stable, and Bitcoin's price is either going to shoot down or shoot back up. And it says that, they say that it's the network effect. They say that it's the normal cycle of the market, if you will. I get that, but the market isn't a machine. The market is, the market may be bots, don't get me wrong, but a large part of it is based off of human emotion, and I don't think that humans are this stable, if that makes any kind of sense to you. Logically, if you hear that major players are getting into the cryptocurrency game and specifically into the Bitcoin game, and that Bitcoin could potentially be accepted by Starbucks and McDonald's and is going to have a crypto custody in the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ and the Swiss Stock Exchange and the Jamaican Stock Exchange. And you have all these countries around the world who are talking about integrating cryptocurrencies and potentially allowing Bitcoin and stuff like that. And it's like, I feel like the price should have definitely moved. I feel like this is once again a coordinated effort, if you will, to show that Bitcoin is capable of being stable, simply because one of the major things that people were saying before when it came to Bitcoin, they were talking about that, look at this. What is actually happening? People were talking about that they didn't want to get into Bitcoin because the price was so unstable, and therefore they saw no merit in being able to get into the market. Since, when is this? It had to be around August. We've had people talking about that Bitcoin was definitely going to shoot up because we were narrowing the end and we were going to do so-and-so and the market was definitely going to explode. It's been a couple of months now, still haven't really moved. We're going to see exactly what ends up happening. But yeah, I like how Bitcoin is always worth one Bitcoin. Anyway, I think that's definitely going to do it for this video. Not the most craziest news day except for this Spanish government thing. But I hope you all have a great day. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you once again for watching. I do appreciate all of your support. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.